Joey Jordison. Tell us more.
We came off an 18-month tour, and we didn't know the band was going to, you know, blow up as big as it did. And in a weird way, none of us were really fazed by it. But we were, like, completely on fire to start a new record. So we flew home, and me and Paul went right into writing. I mean, like, instantly. Like, I mean, it's like we didn't even think about, like, what was happening to the band at the time. So we went right into writing instantly. I mean, there was no break. There's like, you know, no months off, you know, like nothing like that. And we just became anti-everything. It's almost like we didn't like what was happening to us. So a lot of the hatred and, you know, the heaviness that you hear on that record is so genuine, you know, because we were going in a different direction because we were making everything heavier. Everyone expected us to go commercial, you know, because the band was getting bigger. We're like, that, you know, we're going completely the opposite way. But the thing is, that wasn't necessarily our thought at the time. That was just what was in our hearts. We're just like, we're not giving in to anybody. We're playing for ourselves, you know. That was pretty much it. And I was just like, you know, the way this material's turned out, we're just going to call it Iowa because that's where we grew up and this is where the music came from.
Next up, we're going to hear from drummer Joey Jordison. We're going to hear how this album was different from the first one, his unique take, and his memories of being involved in this album. And I asked him, I wanted to know if he could go back in time, would he have changed anything?
I would never change a thing, no.
You'd never change a thing?
I'm so proud of that record. And every time I listen to it, and even as evil and dark as it is, it always brings a smile to my face. So, no, I would never. All those memories, you know, we're all in such different spaces head-wise because of, I think, what happened with the first record. We didn't expect that to happen. Honestly, we thought that, you know, the first record, like, okay, you know, we're going out on tour or whatever. Thought we'd have, like, maybe, you know, sell, like, maybe 20,000 to 30,000 records, maybe worldwide. We didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. But at the same point, we remained the kids that were just in the basement, you know, listening to black and death metal and other stuff, thrash and shit. We kind of, I think, discovered a little bit more of who we actually were with Iowa. You know, it's like, you know, the first record, it's still my favorite because, I mean, that's the one that was the first, even though I don't like it as much as Iowa, but, you know, it's still my favorite. But, I mean, Iowa is, you know, like, it's really our heart and it's actually who we are because we all really kind of discovered and it you know, we ignored all the fame, we ignored all the press, we didn't care about anything besides creating the ultimate, probably the best metal record of all time. We didn't know what we were doing at the time. We were just creating. But I remember, like, when we were recording the first time when we wrote People Equal Shit. Now, we had that. I came up with People Equal Shit a long time before that was the first song that we wrote for Iowa. And a little fun fact for you is that first time we ever played that was when we were our first trip to Australia on soundcheck. And that's when we first came up with it. And we finished it, you know, when we came home to Iowa. So we had that title on a shirt. It was our first shirt that came out, you know, that presented itself, you know, People Equal Shit with the barcode and all that stuff. But it wasn't a song yet. So it kind of was like actually a kind of prerequisite from the first record to go into the new record. So you can kind of see how that segue kind of takes place.
Drummer Joey Jordison, all about his involvement in writing the majority of the music on the band's second album, along with the original bass player and sadly deceased Mr. Paul Gray.
Me and Paul kind of wrote the bulk of all the material ourselves. You know, I think that we did that because it just, you know, we always, you know, had a camaraderie of, like, you know, just being together and, you know, and writing. So, like, and we were just going in a weird direction. Yeah, and the first record, you know, you have a long time to write. Second one, you know, like, we went right into it. But we had, like, a direction that we wanted to go in that was, you know, was completely anti-everything. And we wanted to, I think, just destroy. I mean, and that record is so heavy, and everyone was in a different place for sure. I mean, and everyone hated each other. There's no line in that. I mean, we hated each other for some weird reason. I don't know why. I don't know if it was people against Paul and I. Like we were down in L.A. We were recording this place called Sound City, and we were apart. We all lived apart, where on the first record we all lived together. So in a weird way, that kind of made for a lot of the hatred that you hear on everyone's part, because we all wanted to be together, but we weren't together. But we had this huge room, it's one of the biggest drum rooms of all time. Like Nirvana did Nevermind there, Fleetwood Mac, all this stuff. And the main room, the live room, just became a storage for just all our stuff. And we took my drums into the smallest room we could find. And this is what is beautiful about it, is that the fact that even though that we were apart and we had our differences and we were kind of like, I don't know what was going on. I mean, we still can't even figure out what was going on then. I mean, we were very isolated from each other, which sucked at the time, but we all, I mean, I'm talking the smallest room possible you could find. We were all in the same room tracking. So we were all, literally, when you hear all that stuff, we were all bumping into each other. And we were all just in this small room. Like there's 10 people in this small room all together. And that's what's beautiful about it. So even though we had our differences at the time, when it came time to deliver, we delivered like no one else. We were completely on point.
Next up, we're going to go to one of the chief songwriters on this album, Joey Jordison, who's going to be telling us a little bit more about the recording of the vocals on Iowa.
Chris Bain he's always had a really deep growl, and Sean's got a really odd voice, which adds so much, to the aspect of it. And they were just pissed as shit. We had nothing to worry about with them. What we did have to worry about just a tiny bit was Corey, because when he first went in, it was not good at all. And he had to train himself to get to the point where he was just demonic. And it took him a while, because when I remember me and Paul sitting in the control room with Ross, we're just like, oh, God damn it, this ain't working. I'm like, what the f*** to do? But Corey knew it, and Corey got determined like crazy, and he went into a dark space where he became as far as being as heavy as it became, because he's never sang like that before. But he got pissed off because he wasn't delivering, he wanted to, and we were concerned. We're like, okay, it's not sounding right, and he knew it, and he went and he got himself so trained. And he went in one day, and him and Ross went in the room, and they went berserk. I remember me and Paul sitting in there, and remember Clown coming in, and we're like, there it is. Because Corey got so pissed off that he wasn't, delivering the way that he wanted to. And then him and Ross got in a weird space. They went off on their own, and they went crazy. You listen to the lyrics for Iowa, I don't think there's a scarier song than that, And that's kind of how, the title also came to be.
So I'm going to Joey Jordison. Joey, do you feel like a lot of other bands over the years have kind of, had to take their hat off to you guys and say that you've inspired them along the way? Have you had many people come up to you and say that?
I'm getting it more now than I got it then. Because, when we came out with that record, a lot of people distanced themselves from us, which they should have, because we basically just wanted to kill everyone, which we still do, But, now people are coming up like, man... They're a lot of bands, they didn't say it to us at the time because I think they were afraid of what we might do to them. So, in case they gave us I don't really like this one or like this one. I mean, we would fucking literally, fuck them up. But now people are just this is one of the most heaviest things that I've ever heard. And they're like, man, without Iowa, we wouldn't have our band. And that's a really cool thing to hear. And it's, you know, we're really appreciative of all the respect that we've got from just all of our music, but from this album, it really changed a lot of people's lives, and it actually created a lot of great bands. Rob Flynn from Machine Head, no matter whenever we play with those guys, when we play People Equals Shit, that guy goes ape shit. It's awesome. It's just a cool thing to see that, you know, something that we created just like down like in a basement that, you know, has been, you know, appreciated all over the world. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing to see. So, you know, so a lot of people, you know, that we tour with, I could go through a number of bands right now, you know, that everyone's talking about Iowa right now. And, you know, it's not just a promotion thing. It's just that, you know, can't believe it's been, you know, 10 years. And, you know, we're really proud of what we've done, and we should be.
Too right. Joey Jordison there talking about the legacy of their second album, Iowa. Next up,